Sure. Welcome to the newest episode of Sports Talk Central. I'm your host, Deep Mahmood, with my normal co-host Hunter, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the World Cup, the NFL, MLB free agency, and awards as well. Plus, then we're going to talk about Virginia Tech basketball starting. So, obviously, we're going to start with World Cup. It's the biggest event right now going on. What were your thoughts on World Cup so far?
Yeah, so the U.S. played Wales today. Game they should have won. They have played an excellent first half. That was probably the best I've seen them play since the the qualifier against Panama. I think they just destroyed them, and then Wales they scored that goal in the 36th minute by Tim Weah. Just a beautiful pass from Christian Pulisic, and then Weah had the finish. And then the second half comes. You got to stay aggressive, but they just weren't able to do that. Wales just coming at them in waves. They were able to survive after a couple of big saves from Matt Turner making his World Cup debut. Heck, I felt like I was watching Tim Howard back there from the 2010 and the 2014 teams. But Walker Zimmerman had a very stupid foul. He just didn't need to foul Gareth Bale in the box like that. The ref is going to call that a pen every single time. And, Bale does what he does best. He makes the other goalie pay. Turner actually almost saved it. I think he had kind of the fingertips on it. If he's able to get more, he would have been able to make that save, but he should never really even been put in that position anyway. Just a really dumb tackle from Zimmerman. If he doesn't do that, I think the U.S. win that game, but they just wanted an opportunity to get a win there. And if they had won that game, they would have set themselves up really nicely in the group. They would have only really had to draw England, or even if they lost to England, they would all they would have had to do is beat Iran, and they would go through. Now you really need a result against Southgate. And obviously it's great that it comes on Black Friday. It's probably the second best day you could play England right after your Thanksgiving. I think the best day to play them would have been on the 4th of July if this was during the summer, but that should still be a fun game. It's a massive game. If they lose, it makes things harder a little bit, but if you still are able to get a draw and then beat Iran, I think the U.S. should be okay. It might come down to goal differential though. You'll need England to beat Wales as well. So it's a tough group to come out of. The U.S. did themselves no favors today by drawing this match. It's not a loss. If they had lost this game, it would have been basically over. But they did get a point, which is big. They should have won it, but that's soccer sometimes. They'll play England on Friday. They'll play Iran next Tuesday, Wednesday. That is probably what it's going to come down to. So I like what they did in the first half. The second half, not so much. I think Greg Berhalter waited a little too long to make some substitutions. The team was obviously gassed. I mean, they were running around so much in the first half. I think they exerted a lot of energy. And you can see that in the second half when Wales was trying to take the game over a little bit. Just Berhalter was just too slow, I think, to make the adjustments. So, obviously it's not the result we wanted, but they still got two more big ones to see if they can get back past the group stage for the third time they got past the group stage in 2010 and 2014. So we'll see if they can do it now.
Yeah, and I didn't know Angel Hernandez was refereeing the game. I mean, 4 yellow cards. I mean, I think that the U.S. had like 5 yellow cards in the game against Germany a while back ago. I mean, 4 yellow cards. I mean,
This official was terrible. I mean,
yeah,
he was just not consistent. Some of the cards that he gave out for the U.S., I was kind of like, really, those are fouls. But then Wales would kind of do the same thing or even worse, and he's just not giving them penalties. So I didn't like the refereeing at all. I think this guy just didn't know what he was doing.
yeah, and then that definitely plays into obviously plays into level of aggressiveness that you can play, and because obviously you get you don't want to lose guys for the next game or so, and obviously playing against England looked good. That's gonna be a tough game. But I mean, you're right. I mean, they had chances in the first half. They definitely it was definitely a good game for them. But second half, you're right. They were kind of gassed a little bit. But they almost did pull it out. They pulled it through. I mean, Pulisic needs to play a little bit better. I think he for someone whose nickname is Captain America, he needs to play a little bit better. But I mean, get great. But they do have a young team. They do, and you say that you're right. The goalie was great. So I mean, look, it could be worse. Like Qatar was embarrassing. That was bad for them. But I mean, it's gonna be real interesting to see what they do there. Let's talk about the rest of the NFL. So obviously we had some. We're going to talk about Steelers later. What were your thoughts on the other games? Any takeaways?
Wow, the Dallas Cowboys. Wow, they opened up a can of whoop ass on the Minnesota
Oh,
Vikings.
they
And
actually took a CBS actually stopped showing that game and put on the
not,
Steelers.
no, I'm not surprised. I was working during that, funny enough. And I think my boss wrote an article on it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think the Vikings, they're such a weird team to evaluate. They went to Buffalo, they beat the Bills, but also the Bills are kind of weird this year. And then they come home, they host the Cowboys, who just lost to the Packers, and they lose by 40. So I'm not really sure what to make of that team, indeed. Like, I think as long as they have Kirk Cousins, I don't really know if I fully trust them just because he doesn't usually play well in big games. I think they can go on a small playoff run, but do I expect them to get to the Super Bowl? No. They'll host a playoff game indoors. That's big for them. But I just really don't know what to make of that team. That game was just, I mean, terrible. I mean, the Bills got a big bounce back win. I mean, I saw Sunday night, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I think it's safe to say that they're the AFC favorite
Yeah,
at this
yeah,
point. Eddie, I think you would agree with
yeah,
that.
yeah.
The way, I mean, 2 minutes left, you're down 4. You all know what's going to happen. And sure enough, they drove down the field. Travis Kelce gets his 3rd touchdown of the game, and they win. And Justin Herbert gets picked off. It's just they're so hard to beat. That's why I was just stunned last year when they blew that 21-3 lead to the Bengals. Like, I just didn't understand that. But this year, they look even better. They're playing their best football of the season right now, and December's right around the corner, so they have to continue that. I think they are the top favorite to come out of the AFC. Heck, I think they are the top favorite to win it all right now. They are playing some excellent football. The Eagles, whoo, they survived against the Colts. Matt Ryan just was terrible in the 2-minute drill, couldn't even lead the team down to a field goal. The Eagles they have not looked good these last couple of weeks. I think they're going to clean some stuff up,
Yeah.
but they've actually looked human for a change. The New York Giants didn't look good at all against the Lions, and I think they were due to have a game like that. I think they were playing a little above their record. I don't think,
Yeah, they're punching above their weight a little.
I didn't think they were a 7-2 good team. I think they're more so like they're 7-3 right now, right? I
Yeah,
think they're more like a 6-4 team, maybe even 5-5. I don't think they're 7-3 good. I think they're just a little ahead of where they probably thought they were going to be this year. So, and sometimes Daniel Jones has those kind of games. The Patriots-Jets game was horrific. That was probably one of the worst football games I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how the Steelers lost to Zach Wilson. Do not understand that. Watching that guy, I know they're playing the Patriots, but also the Patriots aren't that good. Watching him throw the football is a sight to behold. It is awful. Like, I don't even know. It's crazy that the Jets have won as many games as they have this year with him as their quarterback. I'm serious. And they don't even know if he's going to start next week just because that's what Robert Saleh said today. Their defense is just so good. And I think that's just they're carrying them in these games, and they almost carried them to another win yesterday before they vomited all over themselves with that punt return for a touchdown. Nothing really else, I guess, stood out to me from around the league. It's getting, I think, harder and harder to evaluate some of these top teams just because they're in so many like weird, tough games each week. Like the Vikings get blown out by the Cowboys, who got blown out by the Packers. The Eagles lose to the Commanders, and then they almost lose to the Colts, who are awful. I just don't know what to make of this anymore. What were your big thoughts of the league over the weekend?
so I want to elaborate more on the Kansas City Chiefs later. There's a point I do want to bring up there, but the Patriots Jets game, like Zach Wilson's a crybaby. I mean, he's a spoiled. That example, like that spoiled rich kid that like can't get his way, and then you see the lack of maturity. Like it's like he was handed a softball question. Like it was softly tossed to him. Like, are you going to take accountability? He's like, no, I'm not going to take accountability. And like you have to know, like that's the type of shit that's going to reverberate in the locker room, especially on your defense, because they were doing the job that they were supposed to be doing, but he wasn't. And look, it's bad when 37-year-old Joe Flacco is a better option. Like that's what it's come down to. It's 37-year-old Joe Flacco is a better option right now for the Jets than Zach Wilson, especially with they're running with Brees Hall out for the with him hurt. So then you're now So to me, yeah, they got a good young team. They also have a quarterback problem, and this guy was a top 5 pick, and he's just not very good at what he's doing. And I am curious to see whether they are going to draft a quarterback in the next couple of years because Robert Saleh. Remember, this is like you got to keep in mind if he fails in New York, you got to worry about his chances of getting a head coaching job in the future. So, at what point do you have to cut? Like, at what point do you have to throw off a dead weight that's potentially Zach Wilson to save your job and also to save your future jobs as well? Then to talk about some of these other games,
And I will say they didn't even just to finish up, they
yeah,
didn't even say he was a starter for their next game against the Bucks today.
right.
And I saw reports today. I think some of the Jets defensive players are not happy with Wilson's comment, just because, I mean, they've been carrying the team all year. Sauce Gardner is already a top 3 corner in the league, in my opinion. Their defensive front 7 is very good. The rest of their secondary is also good. They're the reason why they have 6 wins. Heck, they played their tails off against Josh Allen and the Bills. So that is a decent team. It's just, you're right. They have a quarterback problem and they need to figure it out before it's too late.
Or else everyone is thrown off the metaphorical boat there. But yeah, go into the other games. I mean, the Rams look absolutely horrendous. They're 3-7. They don't look good. I mean, Eagles, you're right. They kind of have struggled. Have come back down to earth a little bit. But I mean, look, the Giants and the Cowboys are catching up to them, so they got to catch up real quick, or else they might not. It might not just be the division anymore. It just maybe fighting for the playoffs.
I
Um,
think they'll make the playoffs, but I think
yeah,
division-wise, I think you're right. But they'll get in the playoffs, though.
yeah. So then you got. I mean, the Vikings are always a tough team. I mean, you're right. Kirk Cousins is not the most reliable guy out there. Um, But yeah, and that was going to really that Vikings are really going to rely on Justin Jefferson, and they're going to really rely on the run game and all that other stuff. And they got a good pass rush with Darius Smith there. Field games. I do want to let's talk about the Chiefs for a little bit. You were saying how to stop the Chiefs. Well, here's the thing. Patrick Mahomes is one of those things where if you give Patrick Mahomes like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, that's giving him too much time. And I think the thing with the
Heck,
NFL is
15 seconds.
yeah. So I think the big thing with the Chiefs is I think teams are trying to like out Chiefs. This is a mistake that teams I think are trying to make, which is trying to out Chiefs the Chiefs, which is try to outscore them, not try to outrun them. Like try to outscore them and try to win a scoring match with them. You're not going to do that. It's like challenging. It's like trying to outscore Steph Curry, right? But you're trying to make it a 3-point contest. You're not going to go and outscore Steph Curry when it's a 3-point contest. He's going to beat you every single time. So I mean, sometimes do you think the best approach to stopping the Chiefs is more of trying to outscore them or trying to have a more physical run game that could take more time off the clock and maybe not try to hit home runs all the time, but try to hit those singles and doubles to take that extra 10 seconds off the clock. So Patrick Mahomes doesn't have 40 seconds left to try to win the game. Maybe he has like 20 or maybe he has like 30, but you know what I'm talking about. Which approach do you think is the better approach?
It might be that one, like long sustained drives where you're mixing it up, running, passing, or not just scoring drives in like 1 or 2 minutes. Like that doesn't take enough time off the clock. Heck, the Bills were doing that last season in Kansas City. And indeed, they left them 15 seconds and they still scored. Like I don't know how much time is like not enough time for them. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, I guess maybe. But it's just because he's so good at moving the ball down the field with these chunk plays. You have to be aware of where you are, like in the game and on the field and all that. So I do think it is long, sustained drives. I think if you do try to outscore them, you're most likely going to lose, in my opinion. Travis Kelce is one of the best tight ends of all time. They got Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, weapon after weapon after weapon.
And Pacheco, the running back, and then the running back in Pacheco.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then they just got that receiver from the Kadarius Toney. I'm pretty sure, but I think he's hurt now, if I'm not mistaken.
He might be on that one.
Yeah, but they just got him as well. When healthy, he's a good option. They just have so many good players available that they can spread the ball around and score at will. And heck, you saw that in overtime last year against the Bills when they took the ball. See ya. You're not getting the ball back. So I do think the key is it's long sustained drives where Mahomes is not on the field, where he can be, I guess, quote unquote, rusty. But it's so hard to beat them. And again, yeah, I just
without Tyreek Hill, might make their offense better. Without Tyreek Hill, their offense might be better because it's like taking away that automatic home run hitter, and now you're better off with like those short to intermediate plays with Smith-Schuster, with Kelsey, with Pacheco, with Tony, with Watson. They are now able to divert instead of like a 3-course meal offense. They kind of have a buffet offense, and so now they have all these options to throw to, which makes them even more dangerous. So it's like people were saying that, okay, well, if you take away Tyreek Hill, now that offense looks a little weak. It's like, no, the offense might be even better without Tyreek Hill, because now all they have to do is adjust it so that they have a multitude of options and they could beat you short, intermediate, and if you try to focus too much on stopping there, then you still got Hardman and Tony, and they could still beat you out on the longer play. So I mean, it is a scary thought for sure.
No, you're absolutely right. And again, like I look at the AFC right now. Okay, the Bills beat them in KC. Awesome. But last I checked, the Chiefs have at least, is it a 2-game lead over them, if record-wise?
Yeah, I'll check.
It's a wonder. Yeah, I mean, so they're going to have to go back to Kansas City, probably, if they want to beat them again. Can you beat them twice there in one season? The Chargers, they haven't really done much. I know the Ravens are leading the North, but I don't know. I just don't see the Ravens going into KC and winning that game. The Bengals, I know they had their Cinderella run last year. I don't really see them doing it. The Titans,
they got close, but they got close. But they don't have a quarterback. But who's their quarterback? And that's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill, of course. It's just, the Dolphins, I don't know if the Dolphins can go there and beat them. It's so hard right now for me to see anyone but Kansas City coming out of the AFC. That's just how I see it. But, man, they just get more impressive week after week after week.
Well, technically, right now the second team is the Dolphins, not the Bills, because the Dolphins.
Right.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are 1 game behind the Dolphins, and that's gonna be another challenge there. So I think that's what we cover there. And then we'll talk Ravens Steelers. So Ravens played the Panthers. You could definitely tell they played like 1 game in like 20 days, because
I was watching RD. I'm like, people look rusty here. Like I was thinking to myself, like I kind of think they were lucky they weren't playing an actual good team.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, though, like, because think about it, right? They had Thursday Night Football against the Buccaneers. Then 10 days later, you had the Monday Night Football against the Saints, and then you had the remainder of that week, which was 6, plus the bye week, which was another 7. That's 13, plus another 5 or 6 days, and then you had 21 days, and then you had like a 21-day break between playing the Saints in New Orleans and the Panthers in Baltimore. So they definitely looked rusty. They looked lethargic, the offense. I mean, they had some nice plays there. I mean, Demarcus Robinson had a great game. I mean, like Demarcus Robinson was a guy that in Kansas City, he was like that third option, and he would when his number was called, he would produce, but he never really got that opportunity. And then it was a numbers game in Kansas City, and then he went over to the Vegas, and then Vegas caught him, and he went over to Baltimore. So it's definitely like he has stepped up in Baltimore. He needs to get more touches, but he's kind of more of a guy that needed a chance. He's kind of showing how good he can be. Mark Andrews came up pretty good. Duvernay only had 1 catch, but the running game was decent. No Gus Edwards, and I think that's kind of a big thing. Like you could definitely tell the run game when Gus Edwards is not there, and that's going to be really interesting to see how they handle this upcoming draft and how they handle when Dobbins comes back. But this is a team that still they don't have all the weapons they have. They don't have, like, Bateman's out for the year. Dobbins is still recovering from a follow-up surgery. but he should be good to go. I think it was just like a cleanup. Gus has a hamstring. But no, like if they can get those guys, like I was kind of disappointed. Like likely has didn't produce as much, but it's gonna be pretty interesting what they do, especially. And I think they have the weapons and they have the schedule. We got Jaguars this week. And then I don't think they face a winning team, so they can kind of fix their schedule. Hope everyone stays healthy. We'll see what happens. Kyle Hamilton, we don't know the extent of his injury. We don't know the extent of Ronnie Stanley's injury, but apparently Kyle Hamilton was standing up, no issues in the post game. So that's kind of that's a good sign. And apparently Lamar was joking with Ronnie, so that might be a good sign there. So if those guys can remain healthy, you still have David Ojabo coming back next week. Probably he's coming back next week. Charlie Kolar, who's kind of like a Mark Andrews type tight end / receiver, he's coming back soon. Dobbins is coming back soon. Edwards is coming back soon. So this is a team that's getting healthy, but also on the defensive side, man, this defense is good. Like they have the second highest turnover differential. They are getting after the quarterback. Man, Justin Houston has 9 sacks on the year. He's turning back the time. This is like 2013, 2012. Justin Houston, not
so weird. I know you played the Panthers, but no, like your point still stands.
Yeah, and then also Jason Pierre-Paul is playing well. I mean, it's great to seeing all this rotation. Seeing all this rotation, like, and it's
Back
a key.
in
It's like
2010.
back to 2010. Like, and then you have Roquan. Like having Roquan Smith there is making Patrick Queen better because now Patrick Queen's more of a blitzer. Roquan is, and I think that's definitely helping them. Let's see what happens when, like I said, when Ojabo comes back, because now you're adding more pieces to that rotation. Because think about it, like week 1, you had 2 outside linebackers, and you were using Malik Harrison as an outside linebacker occasionally. So, and then that meant Odafe was getting like triple teamed. Then Justin Houston was playing like 75% of the snaps. Now Justin Houston's playing like 20 snaps. Like Mike McDonald is knowing it is using Justin Houston in a limited role, and that is clearly helping him. But I mean, it is amazing with Houston because he's often the forgotten name out of that outside linebacker class with Von Miller and TJ Watt. Not TJ, JJ Watt. But he has 100. I think he has like 108, 109 sacks in his career right now. And he's just only like 32, 33 years old. So he's been quietly productive, but it is funny because he is the under he is and like I think you can agree with this. He's not as appreciated as much as Von Miller is or JJ Watt is. And they all came from the same draft class and they all have similar numbers. But it is funny to see that. But yeah, I don't think. And then Lamar didn't play his best game. And apparently he was sick on Friday, but then he posted this Instagram video and it looked like a baby daughter or a baby girl. So people thought he had a second daughter. But then the next day he said, no, that's my goddaughter. Like that's not my second daughter. That's my that's his goddaughter. So he kind of had a laugh, but it was like Ravens fans were kind of like, well, what, is he sick? Because he's always sick around this time of year. But it's like, oh, then it shifted to, oh, he had another kid. But no, it wasn't his kid. It was like his goddaughter. But it was pretty interesting there. The offense does need to pick up, but I feel like maybe they were kind of playing down a competition to the Panthers. So
I mean, that Panthers team stinks. I mean, I was watching part of that. I'm like, poor Eddie Baker Mayfield. He stinks. Like, I don't know what happened to him after that surgery, but he couldn't even complete a pass. It was just really hard to watch, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. And what about the Steelers? I think I covered everything for about 3.
Yeah. And good win against the Saints last week. I know we didn't really cover that because we didn't do our show, but that was nice to get that win. And yesterday you're up 20-17 at halftime. Best half of Kenny Pickett's career. In my opinion, he was firing some beautiful darts. The play calling was good, stepping up in the pocket when needing to, getting out of the pocket when needing to. And then the second half happens and they all come back down to earth. Without the garbage time touchdown, they would have had 3 points and not even 100 yards of offense. It is just such a weird Jekyll and Hyde thing. Their 20 points in one half was the most they had in a half all season. I know this was also the first time they scored 30 for a game, but it was just a whole new level of suck where everything that the Steelers did good on offense in that first half, they did bad in that second half. Penalties killed them. Pickett made some bad decisions with the ball. The play calling was horrendous. They had a beautiful play when George Pickens caught a deep ball. And again, he still has that dog in him. And then, what's Matt Hanley going to do? I'm going to call
run up the middle.
No, not that. I'm going to call a flea flicker from the 40-yard line and then have them botch that. I'm going to run a 2nd and 10 draw play from after that. And then I'm going to call a 5-yard out pass. It's like he has no feel for the game in any situation, and it drives me nuts. They need to get a competent coordinator back there who has experience that can help this rookie quarterback grow, because Pickett is not going to grow anymore under this offensive coaching staff. He's not. And Tomlin, I think he probably notices it. He's not going to make a change just because he probably doesn't think that's fair to Canada and fair to the offensive coach staff. He's going to wait until after the season. But it is imperative that they find a competent coordinator with NFL play calling experience to help this quarterback reach the next level. We've seen the talent in spurts in the first half yesterday. Again, terrific. Best I've seen it play. Second half, everyone just has a brain fart and then they all stink. So it's just really weird. The defense, I think at times, good plays, but they also gave up 3 touchdowns to Samjay Perrine, Joe Mixon's backup. Not good.
Yeah,
that's just bad. You also give up a touchdown to an AI drone, who I think a Bengals practice squad player. Never even heard of him in my life. He looked like Cole Beasley. Don't even know who he. Legitimately, do not even know who he is. They're giving up touchdowns to backups. That was just really weird. You squandered one of the best interceptions I've ever seen TJ Watt make. I mean, I think you saw that play too, Adi. That was ridiculous, and it just goes to show how awesome he is. Levi Wallace, he also had an interception. They played Joe Burrow well, but I think at times the defense just made it too easy on the Bengals offense. I mean, they didn't even have Joe Mixon or Jamar Chase for most of that game, and they still got diced up by a bunch of backups. And T. Higgins, who I think is a wide receiver 1 on most teams. I think he's definitely a wide receiver 1 on the Ravens. He's probably a wide receiver 1 on the Steelers as well. And I would probably say, again, most teams, I think he's a wide receiver 1. But it's just not good enough. They're top 10 in the draft right now, which is good. But, another winnable game pissed away. And that's honestly been the theme of this season. They have another very winnable game coming up next week. They play the Colts on Monday Night Football. God forbid everyone watches that. Please, if you're a fan of a neutral team, do not turn it on. You are going to see some truly awful football. I'm going to watch it because, they're my team, and I think I have to. So I have an excuse to watch it. If you are listening to this show and you are a neutral fan, I would not turn that game on. Edith, please do not turn that game on next week. It's going to be bad football. But, they have them still. They have the Browns one more time. The Ravens, I don't even know if they're like winnable games. I mean, they play Lamar Jackson usually really well each time they play them. But, I guess the one in Pittsburgh is more winnable than the one in Baltimore, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Right.
They still play the Falcons. They still play the Panthers. So they can win some of these games against bad teams. It's just they got to start putting together 4 full quarters of a performance, because they played well in a half yesterday. And, the defense was playing fine for the most of the third quarter. It's just the offense, they were given numerous short fields and they couldn't do anything about it. You have to help out the defense, because at that point, the defense is just going to get gashed. So that's really all I have to say. I think at this point about the team, there's nothing really I haven't said that probably needs to be said at this point.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I think we're going to talk MLB free agency and also awards. So Aaron Judge and Paul Goldschmidt won MVPs. They were the MVP winners. Verlander and Justin Verlander and Sandy Alcantara were the Cy Young winners. The Rookie of the Year was Julio Rodriguez in American League, and then Michael Harris the second in the National League, and then Terry Francona in the manager for American League, and Buck Showalter for the National League. Buck Showalter, by the way, 4 Manager of the Year awards, 4 teams, 4 decades. So he is 1 World Series away from being a Hall of Fame manager. We'll see if he gets there. I mean, it took Dusty finally got his his ring. So, but man, what a great career for him. I mean, I know there's a lot of Orioles fans upset that Terry Francona won over Brandon Hyde. I don't really care about that. I get uh, I think it really what it came down to was Francona's team won the division. I understand the Orioles had a 31 game improvement, but I'm also going to be honest. Orioles could have had 85, 86 wins instead of 83 had Brandon Hyde made better bullpen decisions. But every manager is going to deal with that. Um, they were also kind of upset that Rutschman didn't get the Rookie of the Year. Let's be honest, Julio Rodriguez is going to win that award ever since, even after, especially after the home run derby. Michael Harris, honestly, Michael Harris, him or Spencer Strider from the Braves, it was going to be one of those two. And then, uh, and then Verlander and Alcantara. I mean, Alcantara was great. He was going deep into the game. Justin Verlander is Justin Verlander, and the guy wants to play. I mean, even though he doesn't have the postseason success or World Series success that you would want, uh, he's definitely one of the finest pitchers of this generation. 3 Cy Youngs, 5 awards, MVP, Rookie of the Year. Um,
He's great. He's
The
a great player.
Tommy John surgery also pretty much helped him, and he might be looking at a Max Scherzer type contract, 3 years, 130 this offseason, and then obviously MVP Aaron Judge. There was that debate between Aaron Judge versus Shohei Ohtani. It's Aaron Judge because without Aaron Judge, the Yankees don't make the ALCS. With Ohtani, the Angels don't make the playoffs. Didn't even make the playoffs, didn't even make a wild card. So there's your argument right there. Paul Goldschmidt was pretty good. 317, 35 home runs, 115 RBIs. Good. I mean, I understand people wanted Machado, but can't really complain too much. I mean, what are your thoughts on the award winners?
I think I don't really have many complaints about them. To be honest, I think everyone who won deserved to. I think especially for manager of the year, Buck Showalter did a great job with the Mets. 3 game sample size is a very small. Hitting can go away in an instant. Terry Francona, the Indians. I don't think a lot of people had them making the playoffs this year. No, so jeez, yeah. Oh my god. Sorry about that. I apologize. It slipped out of my tongue. I was just saying that for so many years. But yeah, Terry Francona of the Guardians, excuse me. I don't think many people had the Guardians making the playoffs this year. But, he did a great job. And, they're built within, with pitching and, they bring some hitters up as well. But, they're mostly their strength in their farm system is pitching. And I think that's their bread and butter. And you saw that on display this season. MVP in both leagues, I think, were pretty fair. In my opinion, than the Gold Gloves. I was also not surprised as well. Aaron Judge I saw the comment that he made about free agency. He said there, I think the Yankees have made an offer, but he's kind of been hesitant to accept it. I think he's going to go all the way to free agency. Well, I think he's going to see what else is out there first before maybe circling back. I think you still have the winter meetings that are coming up in December
4th. December 4th to 7th.
Yeah. That's usually when a lot of action picks up. Would not be surprised if he signs then. So, the awards, I think that everything that's totally fine. Not a lot of big deals yet, though.
No.
I think players are just waiting, that they're feeling the market, waiting for the winter meetings. I think that's when it's going to really start picking up.
Yeah, and because if you think about none of the DeGrom hasn't signed, Verlander, Rodon, none of the shortstops signed. I think it a little bit has to do with people being they don't want to be the first guy to sign, and that's gonna be really interesting. I think winter meetings. Pay attention to the rumors. I mean, now just some of the smaller stuff. I know that the Dodgers non-tendered Bellinger, so I think that's the big name going around. And apparently the Blue Jays are really interested in Cody Bellinger, especially because they made that weird trade with Teoscar Hernandez, which was weird because he was pretty good. They got back a pretty good reliever in that trade and a pretty good prospect. But if the move was to go after Nimmo or Conforto or now Bellinger to kind of replace Teoscar Hernandez and kind of put George Springer into a right field role or left field role so he can stay healthier and then put someone else in center field. But what do you think of the Cody Bellinger and him being non-tendered? I mean, considering he was a Rookie of the Year MVP a couple years ago, now to the point where the Dodgers don't want to pay him $17 million a year. What are your thoughts on him? You're on mute.
It's weird. So he's going to market, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he's gonna get a lot of money, I think, from a team. I mean, that's gonna be a triple-digit contract pretty
No,
easily.
1 year contract. Apparently, he
Oh,
wants
yeah,
like a
oh,
1 year contract, like a pillow contract.
oh, okay. I figured a team would give him a good chunk of money, but I guess not.
Why would you? I mean, if he has a good year, then he could go
Yeah,
elsewhere to another contract.
it could be like a Josh Donaldson kind of thing when he took
Yeah.
that kind of prove it deal, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
and then he went out and got paid big time
Yep.
in the next
Or
free agency.
Semien, or Marcus Semien, or
Yeah,
there's a bunch of guys like that.
you make a
And
good
maybe
point.
Schwarber. I believe maybe Schwarber was one of those guys. Like he was kind of like bouncing around. Then he had a good
He
year.
took a 1 year little prove it deal with the Nationals before he got traded, and
Yeah.
then went to the Phillies and got a nice contract.
Yeah, and it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what they do there. I do want to bring up before we get to Nationals. I do want to bring up an issue I do have with the Orioles fans when it comes to free agency, and the issue is this: I know we have number one farm system in baseball. I get it, but to say, and I'm not kidding, Hunter. I've seen Orioles fans say this: we don't need Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, or Carlos Correa because we have Jorge Mateo. No, you don't. You don't. No, no.
Those are
You
three of the
don't.
best players in baseball. But
No, no,
okay.
no. Yeah, like, no, no, no. If Carlos Correa wants to go to Baltimore, you don't. You say you bring him to Baltimore, and then you tell Mateo you are a utility player or second baseman, and if you don't like that role, we'll trade you. Because at the end of the day, Carlos Correa is proven. Trey Turner is proven. Xander Bogaerts is proven. Dansby Swanson is proven. And you can get excited about Jordan Westburg all you want. I get it. Number 80th best prospect in all of baseball. You hope he turns into one of these guys at some point in the future. But right now, is you're hoping a prospect turns into a proven stud over the stud. And I don't care if it's 10 years, 300 million plus. I don't get it. I don't care. You sign a player and you make it work. That is how you should approach things. And I've seen, because obviously Correa, also with the Houston connections, people are saying we don't need Correa, and it could very well be that situation where the Orioles don't go after him. And I'll tell you what I think the Orioles could be doing after, but I just want to kind of bring up that point because it is kind of ridiculous that you have these prospects and you want to prospect hug and you want to wait until they develop and you want to like you have a rare opportunity here. You got like Aaron. Like, are you going to say, well, we got the best pitching prospect in all of baseball, so we shouldn't go after Jacob DeGrom? Like, no, 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 you don't do that. You go out and sign Jacob DeGrom, and then say, all right, game one in the playoffs potentially Jacob DeGrom, game two Grayson Rodriguez, game three John Means. That's what you do. You want to have a good infield? Gunnar Henderson is a Rookie of the Year favorite next year. Put him at third. You want to go get Carlos Correa? Put him at short. 2 years down the line, if Jackson Holiday is as good as his dad, but better, maybe even better, put him at second base. You have one of the best infield from second to third, right there for the foreseeable future. And it's not like you have a payroll of 200 million plus. You have a payroll of 50 million. You get the best talent, and I think this is the thing that the Nationals fans, especially with the prospects you guys might be getting in the next few years. Nationals fans I think are going to say the same thing. We don't need the proven players because we got the prospects. What are your thoughts in general in that whole thing? Like,
I mean, they're not probably going to be aggressive in this winter just because they're bad still. I think they're going to go out and try and get a pitcher, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the rotation is just not that good going into next year. You have Josiah Gray, and if healthy, Steven Strasburg can come back, but who knows if he's going to come back. Patrick Corbin, but he's washed. Other than that, you
what
really don't have
Bellinger?
anything.
What if Bellinger's willing to come to Washington? Would he be
I
willing?
would take it on a flyer. I mean, they did it with Nelson Cruz, up his trade value, get a decent haul back for him at the deadline because the team's going to stink again. I would do it. I would 100% do that. And
Oh yeah.
they have a need at basically almost every position out there, I would think. So, it's going to be another rebuilding year. I'm curious to see how aggressive they are in free agency just because they're about to sell the team and stuff. I think Ted Leonsis is one of the main rumored buyers of the team. I don't know how much they're going to do, to be honest. I mean, I
They're
want
not going
the
to do
kids
much.
to play.
I think they
Yeah, I
might.
mean, I want the kids to play this year to see how it goes. Like, and like for example, like Meneas, like he had a great
Manana,
second
yeah.
half of the season. He had a great second half of the season. I think he's going to be on the team. full time. He'll make the team at least a little more fun to watch. Gray, obviously, the players they got back in the one. So
Valley,
yeah,
didn't Valley make his debut? You still got Mackenzie Gore. You still got talent. I
yeah,
mean,
I'm excited to watch those young players next year. That's going to be fun. But I still think they might go out and get a pitcher, maybe like a utility man, something like that. But they're not going to be spending a ton of money or anything like that.
yeah, and I think with the Orioles, I mean, obviously Michael Elias said lift off, and they're in that weird position. They could go take a step forward, or they can take a step backward. So, and that's kind of where I was trying to get going for was with the thing I was saying before about proven versus the prospects. The thing is though, and the thing is, what does liftoff really mean? I think liftoff means he wants to make a big splash. So it's just like kind of like what the Padres did with Machado. Like they didn't make a lot of other moves. They said, hey, we signed Manny Machado 10 years, 300 million. Oh, by the way, we got this great farm system. We signed Machado, and we still have this farm system that we could build that core. And it seems like what the Orioles are doing is they built the core, and now now you need that veteran piece. So to me, if I was Mike Elias, I kind of spoiled it before. I would go after one of the four main shortstops, and then maybe trade Jordan Westbrook for pitching, and maybe because they do have good pitching, but it's still kind of young on the side. Maybe instead, if you didn't want to pay 40 million for DeGrom and 45 for DeGrom, maybe you trade uh, to Milwaukee for Brandon Woodruff, and you have him in that rotation, or something that you get creative. The other thing I could see them doing is, and then if they do get a big bat, I don't think they'll go get a big name pitcher. I think it'll be like a second, third tier pitcher, kind of like a Jameson Taillon or Tyon Walker, to kind of pair with the big bat. From what the rumors are, the Orioles are being really, really active, internationally, domestic, uh, pitching, left-handed power, left-handed batter. And they haven't really been connected to the shortstops, but I would assume they are interested in them. And maybe with Correa, they know the front office knows so much about the guy that they don't feel like they don't need to put their best foot forward. They're going to let the Twins or the Cubs or some of these other teams kind of make the first move, and then they're going to kind of respond accordingly to them. Realistically, I could see a guy like Chris Bassett going to Baltimore. I know he's a third. I know he's not the big name pitcher, but he's got some good stuff. Like he was hidden away with the Oakland A's for a while. He had a good year with the Mets as their number. I believe he was their number 3 starter behind Scherzer and DeGrom. But he's a solid guy, innings eater. I can see that. You can see I can see JD Martinez potentially, Michael Brantley, Michael Conforto, but I hope for one of the shortstops, and then you kind of figure out the rest from there. Because to me, you need that. They're in that position where you need that one big piece to put in that lineup, and then kind of have everyone else kind of put in simplify their roles. And you look at you have all those lefty bats in your prospects. I understand people are saying you need a lefty bat with a veteran, but you need a right-handed bat because they struggled a little bit against left-handed hitters. Put some balance in that lineup. I don't care about the price tag. If I'm Mike Elias, I'm going to Scott Boras saying, we want Carlos Correa, 10 years, 330. What do you say? We can do 36 first 5, 30 next 5. We can do that. And now we have, and then if he says yes, who, by the way, here's the thing with, and then Correa, who's been through this kind of system with Houston, he'll be going to a similar system in Baltimore. You got Gunnar Henderson, you got Correa at short. That's a dang good. That is much like how Houston had Correa and Bregman. You could have Correa and Gunnar Henderson. Oh, by the way, you got Jackson Holliday waiting in the wings at second base, and you got Mountcastle or Kobe Mayo at first. Which, by the way, and then you got Rutschman. And I didn't even talk about Colton Cowser and Heston Kjerstad, who was the Arizona Fall League MVP, and he was the number 2 overall pick. So they got a farm system. They got some talent. It's going to be really interesting to see what the plan is there. So now we're going to talk Hokies Athletics. I mean, first thoughts and prayers go out to the community at Charlottesville. It was a tragedy. It was, what were your thoughts? I mean, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts and condolences go out to the Charlottesville community as well. Brent Pryor, I think, said it best. They were there for us in 2007, and we're there for them now. And just a horrible, senseless tragedy that just did not need to happen. 3 football players coming back from a school field trip, for God's sake, just screwed up. And I will say the game is not being played next week. That was officially just confirmed about 30 minutes ago. So VT season is officially over. The right call. I mean, it was the only call you could make. If at the end of the day, if UVA was not comfortable playing the game at all, you have to accept it. It's their right. They don't want to play. They are choosing to do that, and it's the right call for them, and it's the right call for VT as well. And I'm sure the administration totally understands it. Yes. Does it suck that the rivalry game won't be played because it's fun when the 2 teams play? Absolutely. Absolutely. But due to this, there was just no reason for this game to be played. And yeah, it's going to stink that it won't be in Lane this year. It's going to be in UVA next year, but it's kind of, it makes sense that way. So again, my thoughts and, prayers and my condolences go out to everyone in the Charlottesville community, and especially to the family and friends of the 3 victims of this horrible tragedy. Shifting gears a little bit, VT ends the season with a win. They took down Liberty, 8-2 Liberty, I should say, 23-22. Yeah, sorry about that. 23-22. Great game by the defense. Chris Marv called the plays that entire game. Looked really sharp with it. I could definitely tell some differences. I think he brought some heat a lot more. The coverage schemes that he also ran, I think he ran a lot more man-to-man. The tackling was a lot better. And late in the game, when you would see Brent Pry not, be as aggressive, Chris Marv was like, the hell with that. I'm going to be aggressive on this Liberty quarterback, because they were rotating quarterbacks in and out. And, he won the job against Hugh Freeze. And that was a nice win. They were rightfully underdogs in that game just because Liberty's been really good this year, but they also did just lose to UConn, who stink. But that's a nice way to end the season. I know people are freaking out like, well, this is what it's come to. You're celebrating like you won the Super Bowl. Guys, they just had a 7-game losing streak. Cut them some slack. They haven't lost 7 games in a row since before the John F. Kennedy administration, I'm pretty sure.
It was a while. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's before the Kennedy administration. So it's just people need to grow up. I know the team has been bad this year, but they end the season with the win. And as much as it sucks again that the game is not being played next week, I think, at least Brent Pry can take a little bit of solace that, they'll end their season with a win, even though I'm sure they would have loved to end the season with another win against their arch rivals. But, I really liked that game against Liberty. Offensively, need to be a bit more consistent. Now I think the offseason can begin, and they can really hammer that transfer portal, get some good talent in there, someone to push Grant Wells, if not start over him, get some more offensive weapons for next season. Defensively, some guys are leaving, especially Dax Hallfield, though Alan Tisdale is coming back. Get some dogs in there that can actually play. Finish off your recruiting class strong. Continue to build that culture and that program the way that you want to build it. Of course, I'm speaking to Ben Pry. And hopefully next year they'll be a lot better than 3-8. So bad year, obviously, but he's going to get a little bit of time to turn this around. This was a lot of Justin Fuentes players that got used to losing pretty quickly, but it's time to hammer the portal. It's time to get this recruiting class down, and then you're moving on to 2024 after this one is up. So just want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have some good players, freshmen like Tucker Holloway. I'm excited to see what he can do, especially on special teams. Obviously Malachi Thomas. I mean, Dorian Strong missed the last 5 games, but then Monsieur Delane kind of came up. And
he's awesome. He's going to be a dog.
Yeah, and then don't forget, you still have DJ Harvey. You got some corners. You got some nice secondary defense. Kelly Lawson was pretty good. I can't remember from one of the linebackers. He's pretty good. But yeah, they definitely defensively, I think they got some talent. Offensively, I think they do have talent. You're right. They need quarterback's gonna be a big thing. Whether Devin, the portal, the quarterback recruit they have.
Caleb Smith leaving is a big deal as well. He's definitely gonna be a draft pick, I would say. I think 100%.
Maybe late round, maybe late.
Yeah. I mean, he's good enough, to be on an NFL roster. They're going to need help at receiver next year for sure. I mean, Jadon Blue, he was kind of not healthy for part of this year. Didn't really do that much. Everyone expected him to contribute a lot, but, Dewan Lofton, I'm excited about him. Malachi Thomas, I'm hoping can be a lot more healthy next year. He changes the running game in a big way. Yeah, right. That's a good option as well. I mean, they have some talented players. It's just, getting the talent level up to an actual Power 5 level via the portal, via these recruiting classes, just getting back to the way Virginia Tech football needs to be.
How long do you think Tyler Bowen's leash is going to be before they go give it to Brad Quinn?
It's interesting. I'm curious to see if they bring in any more help to the offensive coaching staff this offseason. I think Bowen is going to stay. I don't think he's going to be a one and done hire, though. Would it be interesting if if he struggles again next year? I don't think Pry would be hesitant to pull the plug on that. He just can't make the same mistake Justin Fuente did and keep Brad Cornelison just because they're buddies and stuff. That's just not how coaching in this day and age works. So, I do think you're going to see the same two coming back next year. I think part of it was Bowen, but I also think part of it was just Grant Wells was just not that good this year. But I think he's going to have at least a little bit of a longer leash heading into next season. But again, if those struggles continue and it's a different quarterback in there, I think it at least going to be a little bit shorter.
Yeah, so I think we're going to before we talk about Virginia Tech basketball, there's also a rumor about Lane Kiffin potentially going to Auburn. But again, we'll see. We'll talk about if there's any substance to that. But yeah, Virginia Tech basketball started. They unfortunately lost to College of Charleston, but they're 4-1. What are your thoughts of their start to the season?
I believe it's 5-1.
5-1.
Yeah, I mean, great start. I think they should have won that game against Charleston. They just kind of collapsed a little bit late. They just weren't hitting the same shots that they usually hit, which is just kind of annoying. But overall, I mean, you can't really script a better start to the season. This loss isn't really going to hit their net ranking or their Ken Palm ranking or anything. You just move past it. You have other games in the offseason to win here.
You're right, 5-1. Yeah.
Before the ACC play starts. You just got to keep plugging wins away. I think their offseason schedule is kind of weak, so I think they're going to go into the ACC schedule with a really good record. But it's all a matter of, just continuing to build, fix up that defense a little bit. I think down the stretch yesterday, it just was not good enough, a little bit more leaky. Some of the, I think, Basile, I think is how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
He's kind of playing like a Keve Aluma type role for them. He's been really good so far. Couture's been a great 3-point shooter. He's doing what a senior is supposed to do. Padula, I want to see a little more consistency from, but I'm liking his game. This team has the talent. Rodney Rice is going to come back, so that's going to be huge. It's just a matter of, just cleaning some stuff up. People like to freak out. It's 6 games into the season. We're in November. Not everyone is sunshine and roses during this time. Heck, the team was 2-7 in league play last year. They ran the table and got into the ACC tournament. They got into the NCAA tournament, excuse me. So, is there stuff to be fixed? Yes. But is this team still really good? Also, yes. So I'm happy with the start.
Yeah, and obviously we know Mike Young is a good coach. I think he's going to be able to iron out some of those issues. And look, I mean, if they can. They have been able. The last few years they've been on these cold streaks in games, and that's kind of costing games. So if they can kind of find a way to fix that, that'd be great. We're going to end the show on that note, but I will also say right now the 49ers are leading the Cardinals 7-3 midway through the second quarter. So that's on Monday Night Football in New Mexico in Mexico. So we'll be back this week, Saturday, Sunday. We're gonna talk about Week 12. We're also going to be talking about MLB free agency, if there's any moves or any rumors for it, and then we'll still talk about World Cup and all that other stuff.
Yeah, we'll be back probably one of the next 2 days for the weekend. So we'll talk to you all then.